Hey everyone, this is Haishi. I'm in Frankfurt today. I've been traveling in the past week, and wherever I went, it was raining, and the sun is out today. So I think I will just spend some minutes to talk about another topic of Symphony, which is campaign. So at the core of Symphony is state seeking, right? Basically, the system returns the current state, the user specifies the desired state, and Symphony runs this reconciliation loop to bring the current state to the desired state. But in a lot of cases, not only what state you reach is important, but also how you reach that state, right? For example, when you do canary deployment, the final state is that you want to upgrade to a new version, but you want to do this gradually, right? You want to deploy the new version, shift a portion of traffic to the new version, do validations, and if it works, you can increase the traffic to the new version until the new version is fully deployed. So this is a process, right? This is not just a one-step state transition, but this is a complete process of doing so. So to support this kind of scenarios, we introduced this campaign concept. And someone may say, well, this is just another workflow engine, right? It's kind of a yes and no. It is a workflow at the core. But what we want to emphasize with campaign is that we really look as an orchestrator of different toolchains, including workflow engines, so that our value is not to replace existing workflow engines, but to stage multiple workflows into one campaign for more complex scenarios. For example, when you do a gated deployment, you may first want to run through a workflow to approve the deployment, let's say through email, right? This workflow engine is probably integrated with some Office automation system, such as a Microsoft Office 365, right? You send the email for approval, etc. But once that workflow is over, you want to send the decision of that workflow to another deployment workflow to deploy it, right? This is where campaign comes in. So basically, we can drive the approval workflow, and we can get the result of that approval and send to the deployment workflow for deployment. So in this case, you still use your existing workflows, existing investment in different systems, but Symphony can stitch them together into an overarching campaign to accomplish more complex scenarios. So obviously, with the Symphony campaign, you can do things like the canary deployment, blue-green deployment, gated deployment, and campaign also supports like scheduled deployment or deployment window. And another key use case of the campaign is actually the policy reinforcement. As you know, the Symphony is a REST API, right? Basically, you interact with the API by manipulating objects. For instance, to trigger a deployment, you create a Symphony instance object. But what happens with campaign is that you can actually insert hooks into that object manipulations, such as before and after creation. For instance, you can do additional validations or access rights check before the deployment, and after the deployment, you can send notifications to interested parties. So you can implement different policies and also to hook into other system through events through the campaign as well. And speaking of events, Symphony campaign is designed to be an event-driven system. So basically, when you activate a campaign, you're just sending a triggering event to the Symphony engine. Symphony will handle the current stage. Then it will raise another event to trigger the next stage as necessary. So there's no active waiting in the system. It's all event-based. This means Symphony allows you to run a really long campaign without much of waiting. For instance, you can schedule a campaign like a month down the road, and you can also because the event can be shipped to another system, right? You can also do distributed execution. For instance, if you have a cloud orchestrator to make some decisions, then you have some activities needs to happen on the local machine. Then you can actually send the stage to execute on the local machine, then get the result back to the cloud and to do the next steps. Right? And this kind of stage level isolation is also a security feature, right? Because in this case, you can actually launch different stage runners with different processes and different access rights, so that the Symphony process itself doesn't need to be granted access to all the systems. Essentially, it's just raising event to trigger things to happen. Then that specific stage handler process will be granted the minimum required access rights to interact with specific system. And by the way, such kind of isolation applies to both campaign and the Symphony state seeking itself. For instance, the Symphony target provider, which interact with different target systems, they can be isolated into separate processes as well, so that you can assign different access rights. And what's more interesting, I mean, this is not supported today, but what's more interesting is that you can actually dynamically launch the provider process so that you have this kind of just-in-time access, right? You can just launch a process with enough access right for that particular operation, then you can tear it down right afterwards. So this gives you a very flexible control of the security as well. So I think that's what I'm going to talk about today about campaigns. There are a lot more to be covered. Just look into our samples and the documents, and certainly reach out to us if you have any questions or enhancements. Thank you.